Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on our Friday edition, where we do a weekend review for the games and sports that's coming up over the weekend. That covers all your Northeastern local professional sports, New York, Boston, and Philly. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You can see us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. On Facebook, use username at MacMan62. On Google, you can Google us at Mac and Jack Sports. Our website, Jack, which we have a tremendous website now. It's getting better every week. It's macandjacksports.com. The name of the website is Mac Sports Insiders. We have a Twitter account at MacManMcGrath. We're also on Instagram at Mac and Jack Sports. Like and follow and share our show. Subscribe where you can to help us keep growing. I'm Mac with my co-host Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association, and our show's historian gatekeeper. A day after Thanksgiving, Jack, how was your Thanksgiving and how you doing today?
Hey, my Thanksgiving was good, even though the place I ordered from forgot, Mac, to put one of the entrees in the bag. So I got home and had to go back there, get it, and then the rest of the food in the household cooled off a little bit. But that's expected at this point with takeout. So I vented to you before the show.
Yes.
Those who don't know. So it was okay. But it was, look, that's minor. It was a great Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be thankful for, and for those who've had an extra tough year beyond the COVID, our heart goes out to them.
Oh, definitely, Jack. And as you said, you did. We did talk about the restaurant situation. Me being in the restaurant business for over 40 something years, Jack, and I understood everything you were talking about.
Let me tell you, the restaurant situation, some of these places are elite. They're really great, but you have some, unfortunately, they forget to take an order the right way, and they perform kind of the way the Jets have been doing this year in football. So those are the ones you kind of keep away from.
Yes.
But I'm not keeping away from the Jets. I'm still loyal,
Well, definitely. I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, no matter the records or the scores of the games, if you're a fan, you stick with your team no matter what. We're going to do the sports update, Jack, and our sports update is brought to you by Fanatics. If you want to get clothing of your favorite teams, jerseys, hats, all their gear, we have the place for you. Fanatics, just go to the macandjacksports.com website. It's called Mac Sports Insider. Click on their link. It brings you right to their store just in time for Christmas or your special someone's birthday gift, or just treat yourself to your favorite team's clothing and gear. That's macandjacksports.com. The website is Mac Sports Insiders. Click on the Fanatics link for all team's clothing, your team's clothing and gear. So, Jack, of course, we're gonna go over the games yesterday. It was very interesting, and just to let you know, yesterday, of course, the Steelers and Ravens didn't play, and we're going to get to that in a minute too. I went 2-0 on my picks, picking the Texans and picking the Redskins. My yearly top three right now, Jack, is up to 24-9. I mean, man, if I was
well, who's keeping these records for you, Max? Because I'm not keeping a tally. Are you keeping your own tally or what?
Yeah, go to the Twitter page we have at MacManMcGrath, and you'll see all my picks. I mean, 24-9, Jack. I mean, if I was a betting man, I may not even need this show to make a living.
Listen, I picked Dallas.
Yes, you did.
Houston and Dallas.
Yeah, so you went 1-4.
Houston. Yeah, I picked Houston and Dallas.
Did.
And
hey,
the Cowboys early in the game, they had two devastating injuries to Zach Martin and Cameron Ewing. Their offensive linemen, and their offensive line was banged up as is. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jack, because we're going to segue right into the games. Listen, let's start with the Texans first, because that was the first game. They easily beat the Lions. It looks like that Patricia's job might be in jeopardy now. I mean, Watson throws for 4 TDs. The Lions committed 3 first-half turnovers. And, I mean, the Lions they really didn't look inspired to me to play this game, especially on offense. We knew Texas has a good defense with J.J. Watt, who made an incredible play on the interception when he went up to block the ball, runs it in for a touchdown. It looked like the Texans pretty much kept Detroit's offense in check all day, and Detroit didn't know what to do with Watson. He had a great game. As far as Patricia goes, Jack, I mean, this guy has a bad losing record. He comes over from the Patriots. It seems like Bill Belichick's coaching tree, a couple of them are starting to kick in a little bit, but his coaching tree is not that good compared to great coaches. Patricia, I don't know if he makes it through the year, Jack.
No, he's not going to be. Well, throughout the year, at this point, it doesn't make sense to do an in-season change. It makes no sense at all. The only time it ever makes sense to do an in-season change is if your new coach is going to possibly be your next coach moving forward, so he learns the personnel. And it's strange, but the Lions had a couple of 9-7 seasons under Jim Caldwell, and that wasn't good enough for them. So they moved on from Jim Caldwell after 9-7 season. And under Matt Patricia, it's been a disaster with the team. And for Houston yesterday, it was like a sparring session.
Yeah.
That's all. They were like toying with the Lions. The Lions would stay close, and then Houston would pull away. The Lions would get a little close. Houston would pull away until Houston put their foot on the accelerator. It's like Houston knew they could turn it on and off whenever they want. And at the end of the game, Deshaun Watson admitted, had he really wanted to, they probably could have gotten a couple of more TDs.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching the game, Jack, Patricia, I mean, there's no connection there. If they were to make a coaching change, and I do agree with you to a point where changing coaches mid-year really doesn't help. But in this case, they have 10 days till their next game. If they wanted to make a coaching change during the year, this would be the perfect time. And even with their record right now, Detroit still has an outside chance, maybe slim, of getting in on some kind of wild card. So, I mean, in this certain circumstance, Jack, I don't know. I think that if they keep with Patricia, they're not going to the playoffs. I doubt that.
Well, they're not going to the playoffs. I mean, we know that. I mean, they're basically pretty much out of it right now. I mean, the Lions' record is 4-7.
Right.
They have 5 games left. To go to the playoffs, realistically, they're going to have to run the table and win their last 5. They're not going to get a new coach. They could get Vince Lombardi come back to life, and they're not going to win 5 in a row and go to the playoffs. I mean, the season is over, basically. You play it out, and you hope to finish on a positive note, no matter what your record is. But let's say, hypothetically, you're eyeing someone like Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator at Kansas City Chiefs. He's the most appealing candidate out there. Why he hasn't gotten a head job already, who knows? But he's going to get one next year. He's number 1 on the coaching tree. He's not going to leave the Chiefs in season now and take over the Lion job. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So to get your best candidate, Mac, you got to go through a whole intense interview process. And there's not really time to do it during the season.
Well, the fans and the media will be screaming for Patricia to be let go. And sometimes, Jack, that pressure just to appease the fans might overwhelm the Lions front office, and they still might do that. I'm not saying they're gonna, but there's a chance if the media and the fans start really jumping all over the Lions front office and ownership, it's possible, Jack.
It's possible, but the person they're going to get to replace him isn't going to be their coach going forward. I'm not saying he wouldn't get fired.
Right.
But it wouldn't serve a purpose. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
They fire him. They'll put in an interim coach for the last 5 games. And it's basically just playing out the string. And what happens if the interim coach goes, let's say, 3-2. Now the same media and fans are going to want to have the interim coach come back, even though chances are he wouldn't be the long-term solution and he wouldn't be a preferred guy. So it's better just finish the season with Matt Patricia, see what happens. For all you know, they win 4 out of their last 5. I mean, I highly doubt it. And they go 8-8. And all of a sudden, the front office was looking for an excuse not to fire him, now has one to hang on to him. Like with Adam Gase last year, Jets finished the year 6-2 and had a 7-9 overall record. And that saved Adam Gase's job. And look at how things have turned out this year.
Definitely see your point on that. So we'll get to the second game. Dallas gets blown out by Washington, 41-16. Some coaching, as we've talked about, I've played the game of football and coached for a while. And normally a coach doesn't lose the game on the field with calls. Normally it's mistakes, fumbles, turnovers, stuff like that really ends up, especially turnovers and mistakes that end up making you lose the game. I don't know what McCarthy was thinking yesterday. It's 4th and 1. Instead of running with still one of the best backs in the league, Zeke Elliott, he throws a pass to Lamb. And then the biggest mistake, and I when I was watching it, I didn't believe it. It's 4th and 10 on like your 25, and you try to run a fake punt. Now, Dallas was still within 4 points of that game, Jack. They were still hanging in.
It was 2016, yeah.
Yeah, and what are you thinking when you're? I mean, I can see if you're near midfield. Position on the field is a lot to do when you try to do gadget plays or trick plays. And when you're on your own 25, you've got to take into account that this play might fail. And you give Washington that short field. They hand off, they score a touchdown right away, and the floodgates open. Washington's defense totally dominated Dallas's offense. They ran the ball very well against Dallas, controlled the clock. But that play, Jack, I mean, if I was the owner of Dallas Cowboys, if I was Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy would have been in my office right after that game.
Well, 2 things. To get your point with Ezekiel Elliott, he carried the ball 10 times for 32 yards over the course of the game. And the Redskin, cost 7, up, and the Redskin line up front when they bunched up front, they were really hard to run on, really hard to gain feet on. It was very difficult, even with 4th and 1, to run right at them, because that's what they would basically be expecting. So I'm not so much condemning, though, them going for it at that point and not giving it to Ezekiel Elliott, because the pass that Andy Dalton threw, that was actually pass interference, and it wasn't called. Okay? Yeah, well, it wasn't called a pass interference. So they should have had the first down over there. Now, on the fake punt from their own 25, when Sean Payton did such a thing in the Super Bowl against the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, was that the onside kick? Whatever. Right. With any bold move, when it works, you go crazy about it in a positive sense. Oh, what guts the coach had. He took a chance. People glorify the Redskin coach. They call him Riverboat Ron because he takes chances. When it works, he's a genius. When it doesn't, you're inept. But with that said, my problem with going for the fake punt, and it was a complete surprise, okay, even though the Redskins had it well covered and they stuffed the play, it was 4th and 10. Considering the punter has to drop back a lot further than a quarterback would in the shotgun, you have to make up a lot of yards. You really have to make up a lot of yards in that situation. So you better catch the defense completely napping. And even if you catch them napping, that little cushion of 4th and 10 as opposed to 4th and 1, those are extra yards you have to go forward. And they were down 20-16 at that point. And I mean, Mike McCarthy felt a need to take a gamble because no one expected it at all. And it flopped. I mean, I didn't like it. But keep in mind this, Dallas's offensive line, getting back to Ezekiel Elliott, why they didn't hand off to him on 4th and 1. That was a banged up line. I mentioned the 2 players that were out before, especially a great one in Zach Martin.
Right.
And they were playing a second string offensive line for the most part, as was the Cowboys. So to just run right at the Redskins, it wasn't a high percentage play, even with only 1 yard to go.
Yeah, but Jack, when you put your fate in penalties to be called or not to be called, I think you're taking away the power of yourself as a coach. On 4th and 1, if you're going to throw the ball, I mean, it's got to. First of all, the pass was over the middle, which, as you said, he was hit before the ball got there. I'll agree with that, but you can't depend on the refs. I think 4th and 1, running the ball, there's a higher percentage of getting 1 yard than there is throwing the ball down the field, especially on a slant or crossing pattern. And second, on the fourth and 10 punt, I don't even have a problem with it being 4th and 10 as long as you're out by midfield. When you're down at the 25-yard line, you've got to take in consideration the game, the flow of the game, and where your position on the field is. You just at least gave the Washington Redskins, the Washington football team, a field goal. You gave it to them with that call. If it fails, it ended up being a touchdown. So if you're going to gamble, you've got to be aware. And this man is a professional football coach. The special teams coach is professional. He's getting paid. When you're doing a fake punt from the 25-yard line on 4th and 10, you just gave the game away to me. And again, if I was Jerry Jones, his butt would have been in my office, and I would have had a big problem with that.
How do you know it's not? But there were other plays, too. Keep in mind, Dallas picks off Alex Smith.
Right.
Alex Smith's one big mistake of the year. They return it to the 4-yard line. Yeah. Terry McLaurin, the receiver for the Washington Redskins, made a great play, recovering, made the tackle. Now Dallas has first and goal on the Redskin 4-yard line, a chance to tie it up. And the whole game, the face of the game would have changed. And they go backwards on the first 2 plays.
Yeah.
And then Andy Dalton throws a perfect pass to C.D. Lamb in the end zone. C.D. Lamb just can't hold on to it.
Yeah.
Who do we blame, there? And that wasn't the only misplay by C.D. Lamb. They ran a reverse to him right before that, and he decided he was going to try to run it in himself, short yardage to go by the goal line. And it was one of those plays where Andy Dalton ran out to be open as a receiver. And he had Andy Dalton actually open, but Andy Dalton would have caught it for a touchdown. But it was a Nick Foles-type Super Bowl play.
I saw that. Yeah, I remember that.
And it just didn't work. So there were other miscues as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that there was a lot of different things that the Redskins, they rose to the occasion to stop the Cowboys, and the Cowboys seemed to fold. And again, like we talked about yesterday on our Thanksgiving show, Dallas has always got the talent. They're always supposed to win the division. They're always supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. I know Dak Prescott is out for the season. I know the Cowboys have had their injuries on offensive line, but listen, every team's had their injuries. And again, Andy Dalton being a competent backup quarterback, which he is, probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. They got to win these games, and they're just not, Jack. And I don't see Dallas again. I mean, they have the easiest schedule amongst the NFC East teams. And even with that, I don't think they're going to get that division win. I really don't. And Washington, as I said yesterday, is a very competitive team, and I don't count them out.
Dallas seemed to, I don't want to use the word quit, but they didn't have the same resolve after the fake punt failed. Because on the next play, Washington runs it in for a touchdown from 23 yards out. And they had no fight in them by the end of the game.
I definitely agree with that.
They just had no fight in them by the end of the game. And now you have to kind of wonder, because Dallas is in bad shape as far as winning the NFC East, terrible shape. Because in reality, they have 5 games left.
Right.
And I hate to talk about the math like this, but I have to. Washington's beat them both games head to head, and Washington is one game ahead of them, meaning Washington would have a tiebreaker with Dallas, unless there's a crazy three-way tie that could favor Dallas. But they really got to make up 2 games on Washington with 5 to play. That's the way it's looking. And
well, if I remember right, Jack, it goes head-to-head in division, best division record after that within the division, and then it goes to points scored, the ratio, and if I remember correctly, those are the 3 things that go into the tiebreakers. So
if there's a 3-way tiebreaker, that's
right.
Dallas's only hope. Them, Washington, and the Giants, meaning Dallas has got to beat the Giants again the next time they play them. Then they'll be 2-0 against the Giants. The Giants will be 2-0 against the Redskins, and the Redskins will be 2-0 against the Cowboys. Then the other tiebreakers come into effect. That's Dallas's only hope. But
let's just hope somebody comes up. Let's just hope one team comes up and wins that division. Just on their record would be nice.
I'd love to see a 6-10 team win the Super Bowl. That would be great. I'd love to see Jerry Jones hold a Super Bowl trophy after 6-10 season.
Well, I extremely doubt that will happen. Quarterback Lamar Jackson tested positive for the COVID. Now we know why the game was canceled yesterday. Sunday, we don't know what's going to happen with him.
RG3, Lamar Jackson's not playing Sunday.
Right.
It was announced. RG3 is in. And people are talking like the Ravens are taking a major hit. RG3 is practically a clone of Lamar Jackson. The reason RG3 is the backup of the Baltimore Ravens, and it's been for quite some time, because the offense won't miss a beat with him in there. They can play the same type of game. RG3 is older now. He's not the same running quarterback as he was when he was younger, and no one is as good as a running quarterback as Lamar Jackson, but RG3 plays the same style of game. And he's competent. He's been on the team a while. The Ravens are going to be fine with RG3 in there. Their problem is the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not internal. They're playing an angry opponent who wanted to play Thanksgiving Day. They wanted to have this weekend off. The Steelers don't have the weekend off, and they're looking to take it out on the Ravens.
Yeah, and to add to what you said about Lamar Jackson being the best running back in the league, you could put Kyler Murray in that discussion too.
Absolutely.
Today in college football, of course, they got a lot of games going on, Jack. I'm just going to mention one because I think it's one of the best, if not the best, rivalries in the history of college football. You have the Iron Bowl with Alabama versus Auburn. Last year, Auburn knocked Alabama out of contention for the playoffs, beating them by 3 points. It seems these two teams always go at it hard, no matter the record. Alabama's number 1 right now. Auburn is number 22 rated in the country. It's an incredible game, Jack. It's an incredible fan sport. Of course, that won't be there this year. I know a person who directly got caught up in Alabama at the time of the game, didn't know that it was the Iron Bowl and couldn't get out of town, Jack. Streets were closed. So,
right, yeah.
So it's one of the best rivalries in the country. I would love to see Auburn upset them, but Alabama probably will win.
Nick Saban's missing that game.
Yes, he's out with COVID.
This is the second time he's had COVID, from what I understand. And listen, for Auburn, it makes their season. If they could beat Alabama, they don't have to win another game. That makes their season. And for Alabama, they're going to be there at the end, one way or the other, contending for the national championship. But these games are fun. We can't feel how much it means to the people from where we are. But some of these college games, the rivalry is so intense. And with the alumni, there's so much money at stake too.
Oh, yeah.
Because Auburn should be able to beat Alabama, wakes the alumni up even more. The rich donors want to give more, so on. And it's
it's a
lot of fun.
Yeah, college, there's nothing like college football when it comes to games and rivalries with the fans. I think it's even more intense than it is in the pros, Jack.
Yeah.
In college basketball, it has started. We have Gonzaga, who was rated number 1 in the country, defeats Kansas, number 6 in the season opener. The bigger question is, what's going to happen this year? They're not playing in bubbles, Jack. What's going to happen this year? How many games get canceled? How many games are put off? What is going to be their playoff system? College basketball has a lot to think about coming up in this season for sure.
I don't want to make a prediction because I didn't think the baseball season was going to run to its conclusion when they started it. And you don't know because with young people, they tend to gather in groups a lot more, go to parties, living the college life. And we'll see how the season plays out. And a vaccine supposedly is on the horizon. And
Right.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll just see how it plays out, really. It's not a normal college basketball season. Are they going to have March Madness this year? Are they going to get that's the plan.
Right.
Get all the teams together. They're going to be in the bubble. Are things going to be a little better where they compete? Because those schedules, especially for March Madness, are so tight, you can't move them around. So I think for, the Division I schools, that's what they're basically gearing for, how they're going to do the NCAA tournament without any hiccups.
I definitely agree with that. And Jack, you know what time it is, don't you?
It's that time, and and I'm glad we're having no Thanksgiving questions, no post-Thanksgiving, please. I mean, I don't know any of those Thanksgiving questions.
I love the trivia question with you every day. You're getting hot, Jack. You're getting the questions right. You had a little losing streak there, but you're coming back, and you're coming back strong. So today's trivia question is going to be a basketball trivia question, professional basketball, Jack.
Okay, so let me get this right. We talked football the whole show.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you're kind of gently switching to basketball. It's like you're throwing me fastballs, and now you're throwing me breaking balls, change-ups. You take off-speed pitches.
Yes, I'm trying to
be off balance.
I'm trying to keep you off balance, Jack.
Yeah.
I did lead in with the college basketball just to kind of give you a segue.
Yeah.
Which NBA player broke the record for most points in a quarter, scoring 37 points in the third quarter in the year 2015, Jack? I got four possibilities for you if you want to hear them, or if you just want to do it without the possibilities, let me know.
37 points in a quarter. My head was going, I thought the question was going to be a little altered. When you asked me that question, but you're talking about a quarter.
Right. 37 points in the third quarter in 2015. I'll give you 4 choices, Jack.
Give me 4 choices. I'm copping out. I'm wimping out.
That's okay. This is a tough question. It's the 4 choices are Kevin Durant, Kevin Love. Wait a minute. Kevin Durant, Kevin Love, Klay Thompson, or Carmelo Anthony, Jack?
Now, when you asked me if I had only one answer to give, it would have been Kevin Durant.
Right.
That would have been it. Kevin Love, no, Kevin Love didn't. Kevin Love was with the Cavaliers, I think, still. No, was he with the Timberwolves?
I'm not sure,
Jeff. With the Timberwolves, he could have done it. He never would have been able to do it being on the same team with LeBron.
Right.
2015, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony has that mindset, just score. But 5 years ago, he was declining. He was a declining player, so I don't think it would have been him. Klay Thompson is mouth-watering to take. I love Klay Thompson. And very unselfish. He was playing second fiddle to Stephen Curry, but Stephen Curry doesn't have an ego. So he would have smiled, Stephen Curry, to see Klay Thompson light it up. Or Kevin Durant. But in 2015, Kevin Durant was on OKC.
Right.
Playing alongside Russell Westbrook.
Right.
Russell Westbrook been okay with him scoring those amount of points. I was going to say Kevin Durant if I
Right.
had only one guess altogether without multiple choice. That would have been my answer.
Okay.
But asking you to expand to multiple choice, I'm going out on the limb and saying Klay Thompson.
Jack, you got it right. Klay Thompson
Klay
scored
Thompson,
37
yeah.
points in the third quarter in
Mac,
2015.
you get an assist. Because no. Had you not given me multiple choice, I would have said Kevin Durant, but you allowed me to think it out. And Kevin Durant was on OKC, and with Russell Westbrook next to him,
Yeah. That's to share the
Klay
ball.
Thompson. That's what makes Stephen Curry so great.
Right.
The ultimate, a great team guy, Stephen Curry.
Jack, backstage right now, ready to come in is Byron William, our NFL analyst, former wide receiver of the New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Baltimore Colts, Detroit Lions, 7 seasons in the NFL, and was the number 1 receiver in the WFL with 59 receptions, 11 TDs per year. He's also an NFLPA representative currently.
And you left one more thing out about Byron. He also picked the Cowboys to win yesterday. So
yes, he did. Oh, Byron, he took a shot at you.
Gotta add all the stuff in. I mean, he would have been wanting to take credit this morning, Byron, had the Cowboys gotten it done. So now don't let him off without talking about the game. Byron wants to talk about. He picked the Lions too, Byron.
Yeah, no.
Who did
I pick? Romeo Patel.
Yes, I think
you picked the Texans.
Yes.
I'm sorry there.
He went 1-1 just like you, Jack. The only one that went 2-0 yesterday is me, myself, and I. That was it. I mean, even Keith went home and got suckered into the Lions. So hey, everybody at least won 500. So that's not bad. I mean, we didn't have that third game, so everyone didn't go have a losing record and go 1-2.
Keith went 0-2.
Oh, did he take Dallas?
Yeah, he picked Dallas. He picked Dallas and Detroit.
I don't know. I think he might have took Washington with their defense, if I remember right. But you might be right, Byron.
Well, let me tell you, had Dallas not had those 2, injuries to the offensive line, with Zach Martin and Ewing going out, I mean, that did alter the game somewhat. It really did. I don't mean to make excuses, but people are saying, well, Dallas couldn't really run the ball. Ezekiel Elliott, you were even saying Mac 4th and 1. But you have a banged-up offensive line like it is. You're playing your second-string guys for the most part, and then you're losing 2 guys, especially, especially Zach Martin.
Everybody gets hurt, Jack. So, Byron, as Jack has alluded to, let's get into the Dallas-Washington game. Washington pretty much destroys Dallas 41-16. I mean, it wasn't even close, but it was close earlier. They were 4 points down, and me and Jack discussed this. As there's 4th and 10 on your own 25-yard line, and you decide to go for a fake punt. Now, I don't know what McCarthy was thinking. They're only 4 points down. You punt the ball away. Washington gets it, a little past midfield, make them drive the field. And then he makes this call. I think the position on the field, it was a crazy call. If you're near midfield, you want to try it good. But from your own 25-yard line, Byron, how does that make sense at all?
Well, I think the play was really wide open. I think there was that number 11 didn't throw the ball. He had the option to throw the ball. And I think it was a good situation. It would have changed the momentum of the game, but I can always remember what Coach Bill Parcells always talked about. He says about 5 plays in the game they're gonna make the change and swing a game, and that was one of those plays. And that's one when they stopped that play, that just gave Washington all the momentum. But sometimes you do want to take a chance to call a play. I think it was a great chance and opportunity to make a first down in a play like that, because if they would have been midfield, they would have been more aware of trying to maybe they're going to try to have a fake punt going on. But down there in the back of your 25, they hardly ever think that you're going to try that. So it was really a good call. But unfortunate. The receiver didn't have the option to throw the ball. I mean, he had the option to throw the ball. He tried to run the ball, and that didn't work.
Let me tell you, when it works, you're smart. Like early in Vince Lombardi's career, before they got Don Chandler as their punter, he had Max McGee punt, and Max McGee on his own took off and ran, and Lombardi reportedly yelled, "What the hell is he doing?" And Max McGee ran for first down. And then when he got back to the bench, Max McGee was all nervous. What Lombardi would say, Lombardi marched right up to him and said, "McGee, good play," and then went back to coaching. So if it worked, Mac, you would have been saying what a genius Mike McCarthy is. Had that changed, they were down 4 points. Had the Cowboys gotten a touchdown, went on to win, you would have been raving about the guts Mike McCarthy showed. He would have been singing Mike McCarthy's praises.
I still think, Jack and Byron, it's a bonehead call. You're in the game. You're giving them the opportunity to stop that punt. And as Jack, as you mentioned, not only is it 4th and 10 from the line of scrimmage, but the punt is back 10 yards too. So what you're doing is like a 4th and 20 call. Now
that's tough. Yeah, I agree with that.
Granted, Byron, they weren't expecting that. I understand that, and that would be good. And you bring up Bill Parcells, which is one of my idols as a coach. Bill Parcells did call a couple fake punts, one against the 49ers when Reasons ran for a first down when they beat them in that championship game. But if I recall, that was near midfield, Byron. Bill Parcells really played possession ball. He punted the ball when he absolutely had to make the other team drive the field. Now, maybe Dallas wasn't confident in their defense. I don't know. But I know when at that point of the game, if you're that far back, you have just put your team in a position to give up at least a field goal that ended up being a touchdown. So I really believe there's percentages that you should be playing in football, and one of them is not to go for it on 4th and 10.
4th and 10 is the problem I had,
Well, I think that if they would have made it, it would have been a whole different outcome. I think it would have changed momentum. Like you said, they had 2 offensive linemen got hurt, so I think they had to take a chance. And so I think that's part of football. You have to take a chance when the defense of the other team least expected. So I think, that's the way I would coach. If I was a coach, that's the way I would do. I would take chances, and it would have changed the momentum of the game. I think that's what they wanted to do at that particular time.
Yeah. Let's get to Texans and the Lions. Listen, the Lions, in my opinion anyway, I was watching the game as I was watching the players. The Lions really didn't. They normally get pumped up for Thanksgiving. I mean, it's like their Super Bowl. They've been hosting the.
No, they don't, Mac. They haven't won since 2016 on Thanksgiving.
Let me finish.
For what?
Let me finish.
Lose every Thanksgiving.
Let me finish, Jack. The Detroit Lions have been hosting the Thanksgiving Day since the beginning of Thanksgiving. This is really their game. Whether they win or lose, they normally come out pumped up like it's their Super Bowl because they haven't been to the Super Bowl. And I was more disappointed by the Lions' lack of motivation than I was them getting beat that bad. I mean, they really looked like they weren't almost not interested in playing the Texans. And of course, Watson, he tore them up, Byron.
Oh yeah, they did. And they came out the first couple of series and they was real excited to you think it was gonna be a good, exciting game, and then all of a sudden they just it's like they were lollygagging and didn't have the momentum. The team morale was down. You got to be excited about playing on Thanksgiving Day. If you prime time, and it's Turkey Day. They have the turkey and all that stuff. But John Madden used to come out. You got to get excited about playing on Thanksgiving, and the Detroit just don't have that. It's a whole different atmosphere when you're looking at them, and people could tell that they really didn't want to win the game.
Yeah.
Byron, we were talking yesterday about Adrian Peterson, and I'm noticing when the Lions get the ball to start the second half, Stafford goes to Peterson 4 times in a row. 4 times in a row, and that's not token stuff. They're treating him like he's their featured back. And going forward, you kind of have to wonder, I mean, what are their plans for the future? It can't be Adrian Peterson being their main back. I'm not saying Adrian Peterson shouldn't have a roster spot and can't help. I'm not saying that. But you can't make him your workhorse. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He had 55 yards, 2 touchdowns, but you just can't. He's very seldom you'll see him get over 100 yards this day and time.
Yeah.
So you have to have youth and looking into what you want to do in the future. So absolutely, they I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, you have to get your team ready to for to win games.
Yeah.
The
And
question's this, guys. Did the Lions miss a golden opportunity this year when they were drafting number 4 overall in the draft? They could have gotten Tua, or they could have gotten Herbert as their, quarterback going forward. We're sticking with Stafford, the smart play, because Stafford still has a little juice left in the tank. But the Lions were treating their team like they were contenders right now, sticking with Stafford. Did they let a golden opportunity pass?
I think so too. I think that's part of your scouting department. You have to really be smart on how many years Stafford done played in the league and what your future is looking like. So you have to get these marquee players that rarely come through your opportunity of having a draft choice. So they really didn't take advantage of the 4th pick in the NFL draft this past year.
Well, I think too, Byron, that you can look at it as Detroit has a lot of holes to fill. Matt Stafford is still a better than average quarterback, and he probably got another couple years left. I could see them not going with a quarterback, maybe going somewhere on defense or offensive line, maybe. Because, we talk about Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is playing behind an offensive line that isn't very good right now. I mean, he did get those touchdowns. They were kind of token touchdowns, 4th and 1 from the goal line. Adrian Peterson is still a hard runner. In fact, the other Detroit Lion running back looked really good. I can't remember his name right now. I think it was number 36 or 33, looked really good. But the Detroit offensive line is not the best in the league. If Adrian Peterson was behind a good offensive line, I think he could still be valuable to a team, not as a starting running back, but at least in short yardage. I mean, I think he could be very good there. But the Lions, again, we talked about Byron, the head coach. Is it time for him to go? They got 10 days to the next game. Jack kind of believes that, it doesn't really matter and they're not going to go to the playoffs anyway. Why waste? Why fire, Patricia if they're not going to make the playoffs anyway? They're going to, finish near the bottom of the division. It really isn't going to help them this year. I think, hey, listen, the fans deserve to see that you're going to take action. Firing Patricia, if it's not going to help, it's not going to hurt.
I wouldn't want to fire him. I think he's a good coach. I really do. I think you have to give guys at least 5-6 years to change and turn around the organization. I just think he's a good coach, and he's coming out from coming from Bill Belichick and that group of coaching staff. But I just think you really have to give coaches at least 5 or 6 years to have an opportunity to come in and bring particular things to the table, like bringing the right coaches in, bringing the right players in, and of course injuries and things like that have hurt a lot of teams as well. So I just think if you're gonna give a guy an opportunity to be a head coach, at least give him 5 to 6 years.
Well, Byron, but he took over a team that was 9-7, and they've slid backwards.
Right.
5-6 years is a long time, because if it's not working out, you've wasted all that time. With that kind of reasoning, I could assume you feel Adam Gase should come back as coach of the Jets.
No.
Anyone 5-6 years. I mean, a lot of times it doesn't work out. Look, Zach Taylor with the Bengals, their head coach, supposedly reports are coming out it's a disaster, that they're abusing the players. The players can't stand the coach, and a wide receiver like John Ross has been made to be out a villain, like a malcontent. But maybe it's a result of how the coaches are.
Yeah, and that's so true. I mean, you got these coaching carousels with a huge turnover now, and it's what have you done for me lately mindset. But you're absolutely right. And when you think about even the Bengals situation, they have some of these teams just been unfortunately hadn't won too many games, and they had to go through the coaching carousel, just like the Washington team. You know, they've had 9 coaches since Snyder been the owner of that team.
Yeah.
So you know, you have to find the right kind of coaches with the right kind of chemistry, and you got to be having some consistency. And you guys talking about yesterday, you know, the Steelers only had 3 head coaches, and since they've been in existence. So you know, it just have to have the right kind of coach that's in it for the long run, I think, too. So,
well, Byron, you're right, because of the best organizations, the winningest organizations in the league, have coaches that have been there. You know, if you of course, Belichick's first one that comes to mind. You know, you got Carroll with the Seahawks. As you said, the Pittsburgh head coach. You know, you got Harbaugh with the Ravens. They're a little down, but they still got a winning record. These coaches are there for a while. And if you keep changing head coaches, you end up starting all over again the following year, and that just pushes the team back. Even with the Jets, I don't like Adam Gase. I think he's going to be gone. I think he lost the locker room. But I think there's a lot more to it than just, you know, let's fire Gase, because the Jets also have replaced head coaches quite a bit since 2010. And again, they start over every year, and it doesn't seem to work out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know, if I were an owner of a team, there's one assistant that stands out amongst the rest, Eric Bieniemy. And I know that's the guy I'd want to hire. I wouldn't want to put too much emphasis on the interview process. I wouldn't want to call in a few guys and have them dazzle me during the interview. But Eric Bieniemy's full concentration has to be on the Kansas City Chiefs right now, assisting Andy Reid. And when their season ends, then he would come over and I would sign him immediately. I'd hold off. I mean, I don't like the mentality of the NFL. You could call in an Eric Bieniemy and you could give him a head coaching job pending the end of the season, and now he goes back to Kansas City. How much can he concentrate, you know, with the Chiefs doing the job there, knowing he's going to be the head coach of, let's say, I'm just throwing out a name, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's say that scenario played out. He would be studying everything he had about Jacksonville along with the Kansas City Chiefs opponents. I hate that mix. So these assistant coaches, they have to interview while the season is going on, while they're with another team. I think that's got to change. I think the interview process shouldn't be allowed to take place until the Super Bowl is over. That's just my feeling on it.
I agree. I agree with that, because you have to stay focused with unless their season is over with, you know. But and Bieniemy, you know, his name keep popping up every year. So
yeah.
Hopefully he'll get an opportunity to be a head coach.
And they love him at Kansas City, the players. He's done a great job. Yeah.
Let's push on. We got a lot of time left, Jack. The upcoming games we got Giants versus Cincinnati and Eagles versus Seattle. 2 important games in the NFC East. This is probably the first time the Giants are favored on paper to beat a team. And the Eagles, if they lose to Seattle, I mean, they're in a lot of trouble, Byron. What do you think of those 2 games?
Yeah, I think those going to be pivotal games this week. And I think, you know, the Eagles, they got their hand full. The Giants right now got a lot of momentum. I mean, they've been the most consistent throughout the whole year anyway. They've been in almost every game. So that's why I think the Giants might end up having a good chance of winning the NFC East. But, you know, Washington, they with Alex Smith coming in and playing, seems like they done changed their style of play as well. But it's going to be interesting going in. But like I said, it's still going to be a 7-9 record, maybe an 8-8 record with the NFC East. Hopefully, you know, the last 4 or 5 games going to be the key. Right now, the Giants got a lot of momentum and looking really good in the hot seat.
Right. And in the top teams in the league, I just want to get your opinion. In the AFC, you got the Bills, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, the Titans / Colts. Who do you got as your favorite right now at this point? Byron is going to the Super Bowl, right?
Well, you know, we talked about it earlier. I think Kansas City, of course, is going to be hard to beat. Nobody can, you know, you got to play a perfect game. But, you know, Kansas City is going to be the team. And it might be a Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I outcome to where they got to play for the AFC. The NFC, it's up in the air. I was hoping Seattle can pull, but you never know. Even the Arizona Cardinals got a chance. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there still got to get a chance.
So I didn't ask you who you thought would be in the championship. Who do you got for your favorite between those four teams? Kansas City, Pittsburgh, the Bills, and the Tennessee/Colts. If you had to say today who's going to be in the Super Bowl, who would you pick?
I'll go ahead and go with Kansas City.
No.
In the NFC, Byron, you've got the Rams/Seattle, New Orleans, Green Bay, and the winner of the NFC lease there. Who's your favorite right now as of today? Who would you pick to represent the NFC?
I would say Green Bay, just
Wow.
because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you don't like New Orleans with their substitute quarterback and
Breeze would be back for the playoffs.
Yes.
New Orleans, they get to the big show and they seem something happen to them every time. I would take Green Bay over the Saints.
But the Rams are the best all-around team, I think. I mean, you're putting extra faith in Aaron Rodgers, feeling he's going to push him over the finish line. Jared Goff is a good quarterback. Granted, he's no Aaron Rodgers. But you look at his receivers, the special teams, having Aaron Donald. Donald's been complaining lately that holding calls aren't, made on him. And that's the mentality that you have with usually superstars can get away with stuff. But this is in reverse. This is a superstar complaining things are being done to him.
Absolutely. They talked about he get triple team. So
yeah, wow.
So yeah, he had to complain because 90% of the time he's double team. So yeah. But the Rams, I love the coach, and 2 years ago, they almost went to the Super Bowl. They
lost to the Patriots,
right.
The Super Bowl, and then last year they had a little hiccup, but they seem to be back.
Yeah, I just think they got some hard-nosed blue collar players on that team as well. Yeah, absolutely.
That division, as you mentioned, the Cardinals, Byron, is to me the toughest division in the league, and you got the Rams, Seattle, and Cardinals. Either one of those teams, depending on the game, what game they are, who they're playing, can win. I mean, that's a tough division, and I think any one of those teams, and they say any given day, I mean at any time during the season in a big game, any one of those three teams can beat any team out there.
Absolutely, and you got this COVID-19 test positive stuff that's really hindering a lot of teams too as well. It's going to be a very timely matter on how healthy these players can stay as well.
Yeah.
Well, what do they do come Super Bowl time if the same problem is going on and one team has to sit out 5 players right before the Super Bowl? How do you go ahead with the game? I mean, it's a tough one.
It's really going to be tough. And I think they're going to end up in the playoff. They're going to end up having to do something like they did in the NBA. They're going to put some players in the bubble, have them in a condensed area to where they don't have no interaction with outside people and all that kind of stuff, as well as the coaches and the staff people as well. You're going to have to do something like that because there's been too many things happen here in the last 2 weeks that have disrupted the season.
So Byron, thank you for coming in 2 days in a row. You're almost like a co-host. I mean, you done a great job yesterday with our Thanksgiving show. Great insight again today, as always. We love having you on. And enjoy your weekend, Byron. Enjoy the games. And we're going to see who's going to be in first place in the NFC East when Monday's over. I see you, Byron. I see you. I love it. Okay, Byron.
Man, I have a brain cramp. I have a hard time remembering who the Jets even playing now. I mean, that's how
they playing the Dolphins. I'll tell you who they play. They play the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
they're going to be 0-16.
It doesn't
I
look
don't know
good.
whether I should root for them or not. With that number
always
one
root for
overall pick dangling. I mean,
always root for your team, Jack, no matter what. So, Byron, again, thank you. We appreciate you coming in 2 days in a row. Enjoy the weekend in the games, and we'll see you again next week, Byron.
Okay, you guys have a great weekend.
You too, Byron. Take care.
So there you go. Byron Williams again with some great insight, great conversation about the NFL, especially the local teams, Jack. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take our break before Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports, comes in. He's our Patriots insider. He covers the AFC East a little bit for us. And also, he's going to be our Knicks analyst this year. We'll talk a little bit about the Knicks and their draft and the free agency move that they did make. But for now, Jack, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our quick break, and we'll be back, folks, in about 4 minutes to be exact. So we'll see you all then, and come back and join us, please.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVET. Each year, AMVET's members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVET's posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETs by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211-INFO-LINE. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again.
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again.
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, Visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You can find us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch Live. We are here to cover all your Northeast local professional sports and national sports, too, we talk about. But primarily, we touch on the locals here up in the Northeast. I'm Mac, your host with my co-host and your co-host, Jack Hirsch. And we just had Byron Williams on, our NFL analyst. He's a former wide receiver on a lot of NFL football teams. And he comes in every Thursday and gives us some really great information, Jack. And, as I mess up and play some more music as I'm talking, we're quite happy to have him. We have Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk, due up next. He's doing his show as we're talking too, Jack. He joins us after he does his show. And he's our Patriots insider, talks a little about the AFC East. And he also is our Knicks analyst this year, coming up with the basketball season. And we'll touch lightly on the Knicks. There's a couple of things that happened during the draft.
Touch very lightly on the Knicks, Matt.
Yes, we will. But of course, that's the they did have the draft and a couple free agency move, as a matter of fact, that we'll touch on with them. So Byron kind of agreed with you a little bit, and that that fake punt was not a bad call. That maybe the Washington Redskins wouldn't have expected it. They did for some reason. They covered it really well. Kind of disagreeing with me about the position of the field, which I thought was a bonehead move. But again, the NFC least, Washington has a 2-win advantage to Dallas. So if it ends up in a tie between Dallas and Washington, Washington would get in. We do have a 2-0 record against Washington team. So if we end up at a tie with Washington, we would get the nod. And, of course, you have the Eagles, who have that they're behind Washington right now by half a game with that tie. If they win out, they have a shot at winning the division.
Let me just say something about the fake punt, Mac. Washington earlier, they held Dallas on. Dallas had first and goal to go from the Washington 4-yard line after Dallas intercepted a pass. And Washington made them settle for a field goal.
Yes.
Okay, made them settle for a field goal. The defense rose up after that devastating turnover. Now, when the fake punt failed, Washington had the ball on the Dallas's 23-yard line. Washington was up 2016. Had the Dallas defense rised up and held Washington and made them kick a field goal, it would have been 23-16. Still a one-touchdown game.
Very true.
But on the next play, Washington hands off, they score. And, that was basically all she wrote. So the defense kind of got deflated, and that was to their undoing. They just didn't have that resolve, the Cowboy team. They ran out of gas at the end of the game. Yeah.
That's very true. And a lot of people, again, we've talked about this at length, and they've talked about this over the years. Dallas having the most talented team in the NFC East. I still think it's a Jerry Jones problem. Why they don't win the division, and I think he meddles a little too much in the team everyday operations, coming on camera, whether they win or lose, to give his comments about why they won.
I mean, what's Jerry supposed to do? Not go to the games? He sits in the box. He doesn't ask for the camera to be on him. They talk to him. He answers questions. he outwardly doesn't seem to harass his coaches. He stayed with Jason Garrett, 9 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike McCarthy, he hasn't criticized his coach publicly. He hasn't embarrassed Mike McCarthy. He seems to be standing behind guys. Does Jerry Jones pull the strings? To a degree, yeah. But keep in mind, he had Bill Parcells for 4 years, and Bill Parcells is an independent guy.
Yeah.
And Bill Parcells isn't going to get pushed around by Jerry Jones. And Bill Parcells never got fired. After 4 years, Bill Parcells decided he wanted to move on.
It's true. But again, Jack, if you watch the media coverage of owners, what other owner is in the spotlight every week? He is a person that loves the camera. When they're playing the football game, they always zoom into Jerry Jones, not just once, but during the whole game. I think that Jerry Jones loves Jerry Jones, loves his media attention. I mean, what he did with the Dallas Stadium is like almost a show where he has all kinds of things going on at once. I think that Jerry Jones, if it wouldn't upset the NFL owners, would be on the field coaching, Jack. I really believe that.
Jerry Jones would love to coach. He knows he's not, but he has it in his blood. Listen, Jerry Jones was a former player at Arkansas. He was part of Arkansas when they won a national championship. So Jerry Jones was a player, not in the NFL, but in college. Not a great player himself, but he was with a great team, a national championship team. So Jerry Jones knows about the game, okay? I mean, don't misunderstand me. I don't think he's be coaching or whatever, but Jerry Jones, like any owner, he's going to question coaches' decisions. And this morning, he might be like you, Mac. He might be livid over that fake punt.
Yeah.
He might absolutely be livid over that. But Jerry Jones isn't standing on the sidelines giving orders or what to do or so on, the way you said Daniel Snyder did by telling Dwayne Haskins not to go back in the game or whatever. So, I mean, Jerry Jones, listen, he takes a little bit of a bad knock, I think, for this. Is he the nicest guy always? I can't say he is. Does he meddle? I'm sure he meddles, behind the scenes somewhat. But he's the owner.
Yeah.
If you own something, you could get involved. Mac, if someone owns a restaurant, they're allowed to question the chef sometimes.
That's true.
Yeah.
But when you make a decision to hire a coach, which is, believe it or not, it's mainly the owners that make the decision who coaches their team. You can say the GM's involved, but it's the owner that does that. Jerry Jones and his son, they both work together as general managers on that team. And as far as the draft goes and stuff like that and hiring coaches, it seems to me, Jack, even though they did leave Parcells alone, because Dallas was in some very bad straits when Parcells went there. They had a losing record for I forget how many years in a row. But it seems to me that Jerry Jones, for the most part, likes a coach that can kind of, I'm not going to say back off from him, but is not as strong-willed as a Parcells.
Mac, once in a while, Jerry Jones, I mean, he got involved when he didn't listen, after he didn't listen to his people. He wanted to draft Randy Moss.
Right.
People said, no, Randy Moss has red flags and all that, character issues, this and that. You shouldn't draft him. Jerry Jones reluctantly listened to his people, and the Cowboys did not draft Randy Moss.
Yeah.
That turned out to be a colossal mistake.
Definitely.
Okay? So later, when Dez Bryant was available in the draft, Jerry Jones overruled his people, and he drafted Dez Bryant because he didn't want history to repeat itself with Randy Moss. Did it turn out to be a good move? So.
Right.
Dez Bryant had success with the Cowboys. So, let's call it. Johnny Manziel. Jerry Jones badly wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. His people wanted Zach Martin. Jerry Jones went across the whole room. He even got mad at his son. He said, Stephen Jones, he says, Stephen, you have to want to be great in life sometimes, not just good. And they held firm, and no one backed up Everyone backed up Stephen Jones in the room, and they drafted Zach Martin instead of Johnny Manziel. Turned out to be a magnificent move. Zach Martin's a potential Hall of Famer down the line, and Johnny Manziel is out of the league. So Jerry Jones gets him. Deion Sanders, he went against what his people said and what Stephen Jones did. He gave Deion Sanders an incredibly big contract that hurt the Cowboys in the cap because he knew Deion Sanders was a superstar who could deliver the Cowboys a Super Bowl. And Jerry Jones turned out to be right. Okay? So, he does get involved from time to time, but I don't think he overdoes it.
Well, the only thing I criticize him for, of course, the Jimmy Johnson firing was ridiculous. But one of the things I really do criticize him for is to come on in the public and after a game, especially when they lose. Most owners do not go out and make themselves available to the media, especially right after a game. I can see him coming out once in a while, speaking on the team, saying something, whether it's derogatory or whether it's good about the team. I just don't like, Jack, that he seems to want to be around the media after every game. No other owner does that.
Mac, we're the media. Shouldn't we be happy about that Jerry Jones is making himself available to talk? He's not knocking anyone, putting them down. He could question things his own team does, but he doesn't go on a tantrum publicly to embarrass anyone. He makes himself available. That's a good thing. Wouldn't we want the Jet owners, the Johnsons, to make themselves available so we know what's going on with Adam Gase for next year? They're not available to talk to.
And I think
Jerry Jones at least we have communication with him.
I think that should be handled and is handled better behind the scenes, Jack, as far as what coaches, what's going on with Adam Gase, what's going on with McCarthy, or what was going on with with Garrett. I think that should be handled in-house. I don't think that's something that you should be doing, because to me it makes the team it doesn't bode well for the team with other teams and other fans, and it takes away from the team itself. I really believe that. I think there's better things. It's better to be said privately and handled in-house than going outside. So that's just my opinion. A real quick reminder, folks out there, we just had another advertiser jump on board, BST breaksports.com. Check them out if you want to get some great memorabilia, their sports cards. They have signed jerseys. And the Mac and Jack Sports Show, we have great rates for your products or service. Our fast-growing show reached over 10,000 people in the last few days. On Facebook alone, we have a Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram site, all available for you, and a great website where you can post your ads and your links with major sports groups. We are affiliated across the country. And as I said, our commercials include a commercial read, a place on our website for all the people to go ahead and click on. So if you have a company that offers products or services, send your inquiries to my email at macman121062 at yahoo.com. Backstage right now, we have Keith Engle, who's is a host of a very popular sportscast called TGI Sports Talk. He has a great show over there, breaks down all sports. We use him on our show as a Patriots insider, some information on the AFC East, and he's also going to be with us to talk about the Knicks a little bit in the upcoming year. We'll touch on them a little bit today also. So let's welcome in Keith Engle. And how you doing today, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Keith.
I hope you had a great Thanksgiving Day.
Yes, we did. I kind of stayed at home with my wife. She prepared an excellent meal. She did a turkey with a cheesecloth on there, and it was drenched in wine and butter. Came out beautiful. And I hope you did.
Mac and myself, we've been arguing about Thanksgiving before, but I'm not going to revisit it.
Who argues about Thanksgiving?
Yeah, right. We argue about everything. If we argue about Thanksgiving, we're beyond hope.
Yes, we are. I mean, that's the private heck that me and Jack go through every day. Keith, we had you on yesterday. We talked a little bit about the Thanksgiving games. I'm almost positive that you picked the Lions in the Redskins. Am I correct?
I actually picked the Lions and the Cowboys.
Oh,
and
well,
I believe I lost by a combined 400 points. I'm not sure. I don't math very well.
Yes. So you were the only person that went 0-2 out of all four of us. I'm not bragging, but I did go 2-0.
You're not caught up in the cowboy mystique. You see, I'm kind of still a little caught up in the mystique of the Cowboys because they beat the Vikings the week before, and I feel with all their talent, the real Cowboys have finally shown up, injuries and all. But just a mirage.
You know what, Jack? I think you were right, though. I think the real Cowboys did show up. We need to realize that, I think, at some point.
Yeah. It's been so many years, guys, and so many fake predictions of Dallas going to the Super Bowl because of their talent. And we also got to realize that it takes a little bit more than just talent to win games. It takes cohesiveness on a team. It takes a lot of want. It takes a lot of intensity every game. And Dallas just doesn't seem to have that in the last few years anyway. I'm not sure why. I have a feeling it's partly because of Jerry Jones. Jack disagrees with me as always, but I really believe that the culture over there, for some reason, is more show than go. And that's
we
what
talked about that yesterday, and I kind of agree with you, Mac. He needs to bring in some real football people in that front office. And
yes, I believe so. I think all NFL teams start from the top down to the bottom. So let's get to the Patriots last game, even though you may not want to do that, Keith. The Patriots go up against the Texans. They won the game prior. They beat the Ravens, a real good win for them. And then they go up against the Texans. And believe it or not, Cam played it as far as passing goes. Cam threw for over 300 yards the first time he's done that with the Patriots. But they couldn't control Watson on the other side. I'm surprised at that because they did a real good job in Kansas City when they held Mahomes in check for the most part, as you can. And here it goes again. You win one, you lose one. You win one, you lose two. What do you think about last game?
It was a very disappointing performance. I mean, they were in the game. They did have a chance to win at the end. And, I guess one of my big issues with Cam is that he doesn't finish out games that well. They had a real good chance. They were driving the ball very well the second to last drive of the game. He throws some balls. I mean, he did play very well. Don't get me wrong, but he still got this little thing where he throws so many balls at feet, and I'm not sure what that's all about. The team wise, we went into the game with the fewest penalties in the league, and the flags were just flying everywhere last week. The penalties killed them time in and time out. And I mentioned yesterday that I thought we were talking about the Texans and the Lions yesterday, and I didn't chime in on this, but they have got a very good receiving core over there. Fuller is amazing. He played great yesterday. He played great against the Patriots, and they've got a very good passing game. Yeah. And the other problem was the Texans' run defense was not very good coming into the Patriot game, and the Patriots, what really got the offense moving was the running game the last few weeks, and they could not get the running game going last week for anything. And then Rex Burke had a nasty injury. He's going to be gone for the year. So the injuries continue to pile up. The penalties now are piling up, and it's going to be a tough road now. I mean, 4-6, mathematically they're still there, but there's some, are they going to win out? They got the Arizona this week. I don't know.
Yeah. Kyler Murray has a bad shoulder, so I don't know how that's going to factor in. What concerns me about the Patriots going forward isn't as much their quarterback situation, because I think if you put the right team around Cam Newton, he can perform, okay? I think their defense is getting on a little bit in years, And as incredible as this sounds, and I don't think anyone else has mentioned it, I haven't heard anyone mention it. I'm not so sure Bill Belichick is going to even be there next year because Josh McDaniels has been the coach in waiting. And I'm sure Belichick doesn't want to leave the Patriots high and dry, but he's smart. He might look into the future and say, this is a rebuilding situation. And if I'm going to rebuild, I don't want it to be in New England to start all over. And so Josh McDaniels is a coach in waiting. And I can see, as insane as this sounds, a Bill Belichick going to the Dallas Cowboys. It's happened before with Bill Parcells or Jerry Jones. Gives him a ridiculous amount of money, and lets him basically run the football operations to an extent, okay? And that would that would take the heat off Jerry Jones, because when Bill Parcells was the coach, Jerry Jones wasn't facing this criticism, because the perception was it's Bill Parcells' team, and the Cowboys did go to the playoffs 2 out of 4 years with Parcells there.
Yeah, I don't know if I can see it happening, Jack. I mean, I can't imagine. First of all, I don't see Belichick leaving anytime soon. I think he plans on coaching for a while.
Where, though?
In New England.
Okay.
And I can't believe a bigger culture shock than leaving as Bob Kraft being your boss and going to Jerry Jones being your boss. So.
Wait. If I told you a year ago Tom Brady would be leaving to coach the quarterback the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You might have been right the first time there, by the way.
Smile in your face. He's going to be a Patriot for the rest of his career. Couldn't see him leaving. They would never let him go. Blah, blah, blah. That's how it's this scenario. It happens to all the great ones towards the tail. It's not the tail end of Bill Belichick's coaching career necessarily, but we're used to it happening in sports. Iconic players, coaches with one team leave. Even the great Vince Lombardi. Who could ever see him leaving the Packers to go to the Redskins? He could have stayed on as Packer coach for life. But he sometimes you feel you need a little change of scenery.
Well, it's not just a change of scenery. A lot of time those guys leave because they want more influence in the player, picking the players that they're going to put. Even Lombardi, when he left, it was to get more power.
Jerry Jones could give Belichick outside business dealings, perhaps.
Wow, he's got them now.
Be of interest.
Don't you watch the Subway commercials? He's all good to go.
Oh, Jack for some reason wants Belichick to go to the Cowboys. I don't get that.
Well.
And Tom Brady is no longer with the Patriots, Jack. You got to let it go, man. Let go of Tom Brady. Let's talk about
How about this storyline, guys? Could you imagine Bruce Arians? He might get fed up and just quit as coach. This might be his last year. Could you imagine Belichick going to the Buccaneers?
That'd be the ultimate.
Brady, that.
Yeah. That I don't think will happen, because if he will want to show he can win without Tom Brady. I'm confident of that. I think Jack might want him to come to the Jets secretly. I think that's
that he won't do.
No, you never know. He tried it once and he was there for one day, Jack. So
twice.
You're right.
I believe he's the only guy to be named the head coach of a team twice and never coach a game for them.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, true. So you brought up the point about the Pats playing the Cardinals. The Cardinals, when they lose barely. They got a high-powered offense. I don't care if Kyler Murray's shoulder is hurt a little bit or not. Just the threat of him running with the ball is going to keep them linebackers and safeties pulled up a little bit, spying them. It's going to cause receivers to get open. The Cardinals' defense is very underrated. This is going to be a huge mountain, I think, for the Patriots to climb to get a win. And it's probably one of the most important games. I know we say this every week, but with the situation, Keith, this is a huge game for the Patriots. If they lose this, I don't see them getting anywhere close to the playoffs this year.
No, the back's to the wall. They basically got to win out. 9-7 maybe be all right, but you got to lose one game. But they still got tough games after this with the Rams, Miami, Buffalo.
Yeah,
it's going to be a tough road to hoe. But and it's funny. I was saying the same thing 2 weeks ago when they played Baltimore. I gave them just a puncher's chance. I think we all did. but I really was not confident they were going to come out of there with a victory. So if the defense were playing better, and the big problem on the defense is when, as Jack mentioned, they're getting old, where they're really getting older in the secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, Devin McCourty is one of my favorite guys in that team, but he has been torched a couple of times this year. The tackling is atrocious. I believe they lead the league in yards after the catch because these guys just can't tackle. The tackling again last week was just, and McCourty is a big part of that. When you're playing safety, you're going to have to make some of these tackles to keep guys from breaking away for first downs, and it happened time after time last week. Now, again, Kyler Murray's banged up. Bill Belichick has had a history of when he sees young quarterbacks for the first time, he's been at an advantage because he knows how to, pick apart their weaknesses. But I don't know if the horses on defense can really do it now because he is such a great weapon. So if he's not seriously hurt, they're going to have a tough time. The game's at home. Again, you got a West Coast team traveling east, playing at 1:00, which is always a factor. So they're going. I think they'll have a chance. I don't think they're going to get blown out of this game. I think at the end they'll be in it. My worry is with Cam, and Jack, I know likes Cam a bit, but my worry with Cam is that in big moments he's not coming anywhere as close to coming up big. So,
yeah, I agree with that. And the only winner last week really was the Bills, and they didn't play. I mean, every other team in the AFC East lost. Miami got surprised, and me and Jack have debated this, Keith, like crazy about. He calls them relief quarterbacks. You put in Fitzpatrick. I mean, he does lift the team. They still don't win though, and now you got Tua, who is a rookie quarterback. They supposedly took their time to get him ready to play. And he has a bad game, like all starting quarterbacks, even the great ones have bad games once in a while. They pull him out, and now to me, what this does, and just speaking as playing football before, I mean, when your quarterback gets pulled, you start thinking a little bit different about him. Like, well, maybe he's not the true leader. Maybe Fitzpatrick is the true leader on the team. It kind of takes away from that leadership, and not only that, it makes that, especially a young quarterback, press harder when he's on the field to make plays, and it kind of hurts his confidence. And I don't mean that it hurts his confidence like I can't play football. I mean it hurts the confidence of him with his head coach. If I throw an interception, are you pulling me out of the game? So, I mean, to me, it was a wrong thing to do for Miami to pull Tua out, put Fitzpatrick in. If he's injured, different story.
Can I just say something?
Wait a minute, let me finish, Jack. But if he's hurt, great. I mean, I understand that. You've got a competent backup quarterback. But just to pull him because he's having a bad game, I think is totally wrong.
Tua's situation is vastly different from the other young quarterbacks. The Miami Dolphins have snuck up on us, and they're contending for playoff position. These games and won and losses are more important to the Dolphins than they are, let's say, to the Chargers, who have Justin Herbert. The Chargers can afford to lose games at the expense of Justin Herbert developing. The time for the Dolphins, even though they appear to have a great future, the time has arrived now. These games are important. And to keep Tua in because you're overly concerned about his confidence and perhaps lose a game you could have won that could have gotten you into the playoffs isn't the right way to go about it. Tua is a young quarterback. He's starting next week. He'll keep starting. His confidence can't possibly be that fragile because he's taken out. He's got to understand that Fitzpatrick is in to give the team a spark, but he knows he's their guy of the future. And I'm sure Brian Flores has communicated that to him behind closed doors.
There's more. I think there's more at stake than just to his confidence, though. And I love Brian Flores, and I think he's a great coach and going to be even a greater coach after some time goes by. But it's not just the quarterback's confidence you risk. You risk your clubhouse, your locker room being divided over two guys. So that's why you have the adage that if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. It's rarely worked as Max said, obviously you need a competent guy. You can't have a Brian Hoyer on the bench and expect if your quarterback goes down to be able to replace him in any serviceable fashion. But just to have a guy to come in every time the guy struggles, again, you risk the locker room because they're going to want half these guys are going to say they'll be wanting him pulled when he shouldn't be pulled.
Fitzpatrick won't allow the locker room to get divided. He's not that type of guy. He said all along when they drafted Tua, he's just keeping the seat warm for him. He knows it's inevitable that Tua's going to be the quarterback.
That doesn't matter, Jack. That doesn't matter what he says or what he thinks. It's what the rest of the team thinks. And you brought up Herbert. Herbert was forced into playing the game because of the injury to the starting quarterback.
Tyrod Taylor,
right. So now there's no other choice but Herbert. There's not. Well, we got Tyrod Taylor, or
Tyrod Taylor came back.
And Herbert,
who's ever heard of him since then?
And Herbert has been playing lights out. He's competing with the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So that's, to me, that example is not good. If Tua gets hurt, you got somebody that can carry the team. If you're going to pull Tua, and I don't care what's at stake this year, every time that he has a bad game, you're going to end up getting a divided locker room and the players on the team losing confidence in that Tua could bring them back. Because what stands out in a quarterback like a Drew Brees, a Tom Brady, they bring them back at the end to win the games. If you don't have that situation, Jack, you're going to say, well, Tua can't do it at the end of the game. We got to throw another quarterback in. That hurts the locker room.
But Tua is going to come back the next week and the week after, and he's going to play well most of the time. So he'll have the confidence of the locker room because they'd see him playing well.
Until he throws a pick six and he's looking at the bench.
Right. You got to allow that kid to grow, Jack. If you're not allowing him to grow, if he's having a bad game and you take him out, he's just not growing.
I can't think of a time in history where relief quarterbacks really worked. It worked, I guess, for the Dolphins a little bit in the 80s with Don Strock. But David Woodley was their quarterback. He wasn't their future, right? So it was a bit of a different situation, and Don Strock was a really good guy to come in and spark a team. But I can't think of another time it worked out.
Yeah,
I'm only saying if the quarterback is struggling badly. Despite injury,
you had Earl Morrall, you had Frank Wright, you had quarterbacks like that. But the starting quarterbacks were out, and that's why they came in, and that's to me not a relief quarterback. That's a competent second string quarterback coming in because your first string quarterback is hurt.
I'll give you an example. Early in Tom Brady's career, Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady. Tom Brady was managing games, and Tom Brady was not playing. I mean, he played serviceable football, but he wasn't playing great. He made some mistakes, and they weren't yanking him for Damon Heward or whoever was the backup at the time.
The backup has to be very competent. Very competent. I don't mean just any backup.
Great point. They did have Drew Bledsoe in that first year. He came in because Brees got hurt, and they won the championship on a pass by Drew Bledsoe. But in the Super Bowl, Brady was ready to go, and they started Brady. But that was because of an injury, and Drew Bledsoe was no scrub.
But if Brady was struggling in the Super Bowl, really struggling badly, and you had Drew Bledsoe on the bench, an established, successful NFL quarterback, nothing the matter with going to Drew Bledsoe in that spot.
Well, you know what? It's funny you bring that up. Brady wasn't playing a great game in that game until the final drive. He was the MVP of that game, but he probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Right.
His numbers are very pedestrian. He was not playing a great football game.
We talk about Bill Parcells, and you, Mac, talked about Jerry Jones's meddling. When Drew Henson was a prospect, okay, he was on the Dallas Cowboys as a quarterback, and Bill Parcells started Drew Henson one game, and then he yanked him and went with Vinny Testaverde. And he wanted to win because he wanted to win the game. And Jerry Jones, after, he wanted to see what Drew Henson could do. He felt it was too quick of a hook.
Well, Drew Henson wasn't a prospect like Tua.
No, that's for sure. Okay, so let's touch a little bit on the Knicks. Keith, the Knicks, they drafted Obi Toppin, combo guard Emmanuel Quickly, and in free agency, they acquired guard Jacob Evans, center Omari Spellman, and a future second-round draft pick for center Ed Davis. A little thoughts on first their drafting and that move they made.
And Noel Nerlens.
No, yeah, I was just going to bring up. It's Nerlens Noel, isn't it?
Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up. The free agency period with the Knicks was a little underwhelming, I guess, if you're a fan. But we talked about Gordon Hayward and them having interest in him, but you can't overpay for a guy like that. And we also talked about the fact that they're overloaded with forwards to begin with.
Right.
They made some interesting pickups. Austin Rivers they picked up, who's a serviceable bench player. Noel Burks. I'll tell you a guy that really interests me that they signed as a undrafted free agent is Miles Powell from Seton Hall. Played very, very well his last 2 years in school, and I think that could be an under the radar guy to watch as we go forward. But not here in year one. Again, this team probably is not heading, to the playoffs this year. They're by all reports, they're falling out of the Westbrook sweepstakes, and probably, I've been kind of flipping back and forth on this, but if some of the pieces they're putting together, I'd hate to see get sent to Houston for Russell Westbrook for a couple 3 years.
Yeah.
I would it would bring all kinds of excitement. I've heard Jack talk about it. Both of you guys talk about it, and the fact that is it worth that fan excitement and a couple maybe playoff bursts and first round exits? Maybe not. But if you weren't giving up much, if you're getting on the cheap, but if you're going to have to give up picks and you're going to have to give up maybe some of these guys that will develop, I would say no. I don't know how well he get along with Thibodeau either. The more I think about it, so.
Well, the only reason why I mentioned Westbrook and picking him up, first of all, we need a point guard. There's no question about that.
Without it, but you don't have one.
Second of all, we need a leader on the court, which we don't have right now. I think he would get along fine with Thibodeau. I don't think he's going to have. He's not a problem like say a Kyrie Irving is or something like that. He wants to win. He gives everything he's got. He's great defensively, and I think that he could be a role model to some of these players as far as hard work goes. I know they're not going to win the championship with him, but I think for a 2-3 year period, it might give them a bridge to where they can develop these younger players that they already have on the team. As you said, if they don't give up too much, and that's the only reason I'm for them getting Westbrook. I'm not expecting, the Knicks to do, to go to the second round of the playoffs even. I'm just thinking about developing the players, as you said, under Thibodeau, who loves to teach, and having a leader on the court who's been in the game for quite a long time and is still very good.
Well, the one thing that sticks out is the point guard situation. I mean, Barrett's still probably going to play point guard. He's not a point guard, right? So you got Rivers on the bench, but he's not a 40-minute guy. So I think this team, as constructed, will be interesting to watch. They're not going to win 18 games. They're going to win a lot more games than that, and they'll get better as the year goes on. But the point guard situation has got to be addressed at some point for sure. And they might get Westbrook on the cheap. So, but again, the things that I'm seeing this week is that they're kind of falling back in that.
Well, did Houston send out a message to Harden and Westbrook that they want him to stay this year by getting DeMarcus Cousins? Is that a little bit of a message that, look, we can win this year if DeMarcus Cousins is healthy, so on? Because they know what DeMarcus Cousins is capable of doing if he could regain his old form.
Well, it's debatable whether he can regain his own old form. And I don't know that it's all about the players surrounding them. But from everything I read, there's different reasons why both of them want out of there, and it's got to do with the owner and his backing of a certain president who's on his way out.
I mean, it's getting a little absurd. I mean,
I'm not saying I'm not saying that should be. I'm just telling you what I'm reading and hearing about the situation there. They don't want to play for this guy.
Yeah, I think the social stuff has gone way too far, and people,
I agree.
Yeah.
Whoever they vote for is their business.
Yep.
For whatever reasons.
Yeah.
So
They
Keith,
care about playing basketball. That's what they get paid for, right?
exactly.
Right.
I
Now,
don't care.
listen, I'm all for them taking a social. They have a platform, so I'm not against them using it. I'm really not.
Well,
but it gets to the point you can't forget what your job is as well. You're there to do a job,
and taking a stand and have on a platform is fine, but not demanding a trade because of what who the owner votes for, or supports for president or whatever.
Guys, I always when I talk about this with other people not on the show, I say, could you imagine a store clerk standing in front of the main aisle on his job and protesting something while they're busy? He'd be fired immediately.
Yeah.
And, it's just I understand. Yeah, of course you have the right to say whatever you want about the country and politics and all that. I really don't want to get into it, but of course that right. But there's a time and place for everything, and there's places that even would be more effective than on the basketball court. But
I agree with you.
But again, with the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau to me he's good for the Knicks franchise in this sense. They're going to be given a pass this year. I don't think anyone is going to get on them too hard for losing, as long as they could see he's developing the young players. If the young players are developing, coming along, I think this season fans will be a little more tolerant of the wins and the losses. And the problem with the Knicks, as incredible as this seems, they're not an appealing destination place for star players right now. And that's unbelievable considering the history of Madison Square Garden. It was the arena that everyone wanted to play in all the time. And it's just not as soon as they become a destination place, and it only takes one star player, and then there's a snowball effect. If Giannis or Damian Lillard or someone of that ilk comes to the Knicks, then another superstar player is going to want to become, and all of a sudden the Knicks become arguably the most appealing franchise in the NBA again.
Yeah, and we've been waiting for that one guy for like 12 years.
Hey, Keith, I'm more impressed, Keith. I'm more impressed that Jack used the word ilk than the whole statement. That was great.
That's a play on one of the teams. I think he's on the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm more impressed with that. Keith, we got to let you go and finish out the show. I want to thank you again for coming in yesterday, 2 days in a row. You're a great friend of the show. You have a great show over there at TGI Sports Talk. Guys, go over there. You get a chance. Look at his show. Check him out. He's very good. We also got a place for him on our website where you can go in, click on his link to his latest vlogs that he has up there. The history is up there. Check him out. He's a great sportscaster and a great friend of the show. Enjoy the weekend, Keith, and enjoy the game.
You guys are doing a great job. I appreciate the support too. And just coming on with you guys is one of my enjoyable 20, 30 minutes of my week. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Have a great weekend, my friend.
You too. Thanks, guys. Bye.
So there you go. Keith Engle again makes a second appearance in 2 days. Great guest. Great knowledge. And as you see, we'll definitely be using him during basketball season.
It might be a long season if he's on Nick Inside. I mean, it might be a long season.
Yeah, that's okay though.
I don't know how much new stuff you could give us on the next one.
Oh, there's always stuff.
We'll see.
With Nolan there's always stuff, Jack. You know what I'm saying? There's always stuff. So, folks, we're going to take our last break of the day. We'll be back on the other side about 3 minutes. Come back and join us, and we'll see you then. Give us 3 minutes, and we'll see you.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma.
I love you too. Okay, how about tasting the stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Honk, they hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Good morning and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. We just had on Byron Williams as a guest today with our NFL analyst who comes on and gives us a lot of insight into the NFL, especially the locals. And we also had Keith Engle on, Jack, another great guest who came on for 2 in a row. Very knowledgeable about the Patriots. All sports in general, really. I mean, he has a great show over there. And, he kind of talked about the Knicks a little bit today. And we'll be using him when the basketball.
Well, you like him because he agrees with you a lot more than he agrees with me. That's why you're always raving about him.
Well, he's a very smart man, Jack. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, he is.
So, no, he's very knowledgeable in his opinions, and so are you, Jack. So it leads for great conversation. So we're going to get to this day in sports history, where we cover the birthdays and the events in sports. A few events for you. Joe DiMaggio in 1941 was named the AL MVP, beating out the splendid splitter Ted Williams by 1 vote, Jack.
Ted Williams hit 406 that year.
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio had that 56-game hitting streak. I mean, what a season.
Yeah.
There was a lot of debate at the time who was a greater player, Joe DiMaggio or Ted Williams. That debate continued for years. It's obvious Joe D was the greater player. Ted Williams was the greater hitter.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, and that 56-game hitting streak I know he went 0 for something in the next game, and then continued with another 14 game hitting streak.
16 game. No. After the 56 game hitting streak was broken, he hit successfully in 16 games in a row.
Right.
And how many great players have even had a 16 game hitting streak in their whole career, let alone a 56 game streak?
I mean, I don't know if I agree. It's obvious that Joe DiMaggio is a better ball player, but he definitely, Jack, as you stated, was a better defensive man playing center field for the Yankees. And Ted Williams was a little bit more shaky out there. To me, they're two great players. I would have took any one of them on my team at any.
Well, listen, saying that Ted Williams was a better player than Joe DiMaggio was like saying David Ortiz was a better player than Ken Griffey Jr. You can argue that maybe Ortiz was a better hitter. It's arguable, but Ted Williams would have been a DH in this day and age.
Oh, I agree with that, Jack. In 1960, we've discussed this man before in our debates. Gordie Howe becomes the first NHL player to score 1,000 points. A great player called the legend, Mr. Hockey. We call Gretzky the Great One. But if he is, Gordie Howe isn't that far behind him, Jack.
Gordie Howe was the NHL's ultimate Iron Man. I mean, such a great player for the Detroit Red Wings for years when he was, older, even went into the new league, the Hartford Whalers. I mean, just a great, great player, and he was tough. No one messed with Gordie Howe. He came up during the era where you really had to fight in the NHL if you were a star player to stay a star. And Gordie Howe was feared, not just for his skill level, but for his toughness on the ice. No one took advantage of Gordie Howe or even tried.
Yeah, as opposed to Gretzky, who he had his bodyguards around him all that year. He was a physical guy.
Gordie Howe was his own bodyguard.
Exactly.
And bodyguards for others. And the son, when the son Mark Howe came into the league, Gordie Howe was basically his son's bodyguard. And no one messed with Mark Howe because then they'd have to deal with Gordie.
100% right. In 1966, Jack, we talk about the scores today, how high they are, how much offense there is. But back in 1966, in the highest scoring game in the NFL, the Redskins, at that time, the Washington team, beat the New York Giants 72-41, Jack.
Yeah, I remember watching that game. I just remember a lot of points. I was very young. I have a recollection of just a lot of kicking, field goal kicking, points going on the board, and them talking about all the scores. Could we have a 72-41 game today? 72 points is, wow. I mean, that's really a heck of a lot of points to get. But
yeah, you're talking about 113 points in one game. If I recall right, I'm not sure, but I think Turkin was a quarterback of the Giants then.
Pete Gogolak was the Giant kicker. I kind of remember that. Yeah.
And I think the Redskins, they either had Jurgensen or Kilmer quarterback. And I don't know if you remember Larry Brown, Jack, the running back for the Redskins. Quite a running back and was an all-pro along with Ron Johnson for the Giants. I think
a lot of points that day. I mean, I remember watching the game and the commentators going on and on about an NFL record, and it still holds.
Yeah. In 1997, Jack, Lions running back Barry Sanders becomes the second all-time leading rusher. I think he's no longer in that slot. Emmitt Smith, I'm not sure. He might be. I'm trying to think of another running back that might have passed him. Of course, you got Emmitt Smith. He played for a long time with the Cowboys. Was with the Cardinals. Walter Payton spent his whole career with the Bears. I'm trying to think of somebody else that.
I mean, his records evolved. Jim Brown had said it, but Jim Brown played only 9 years. I mean, 9 glorious years. And ultimately, Franco Harris, made a run in it. Then Emmitt Smith, took over the lead. And it's a question of longevity with these running backs. Are they willing to play the few extra years? Look, if I told you Frank Gore was the third leading rusher of all time, that's astonishing. But he's put in the years.
Right. Same with Adrian Peterson, Jack. I mean,
Yeah.
every yard he gains them on those records. In birthdays, Jack, we have in 1903 Johnny Blood McNally, Hall of Fame halfback, and the coach of NFL champion. I think it was with the Green Bay Packers, if I'm not mistaken. 1921.
That's what makes you great, Mac.
Yes.
Only you, of all the broadcasters, would bring up Johnny the Blood McNally to the viewers and can fill us in on him. That is great.
He was quite a player, quite a coach, a champion. So he was born on this day. Ken Schinkel, New York Rangers right winger, was born in 1932. I bring him up because, of course, the local aspect of him being with the Rangers, a couple other teams. Born in 1960. Ken O'Brien, quarterback of the New York Giants, was born. Ken wasn't a bad quarterback, Jack. He was a pretty good quarterback.
He played for 10. Ken O'Brien played 10 years in the league. He went to a couple of Pro Bowls. I mean, 10 years in the league is a good career.
Yeah, and the Jets had a kind of team.
There was a little, the thing that the Jet fans hold against Ken O'Brien is that he was drafted right ahead of Dan Marino.
Right.
But listen, Dan Marino went number 30 overall, so a lot of teams passed on Dan Marino. Ken O'Brien went a few slots before him. And actually, when they went head-to-head, Ken O'Brien did very nicely against Dan Marino. He was 8-7 against Dan Marino. And they had that great Monday night shootout game where they set a record combining for total yards. And the Jets actually won that game with O'Brien. So O'Brien's biggest crime was being drafted ahead of Dan Marino by the Jets. But he did give the Jets 10 years. And all in all, his career with the Jets, while not great, was successful.
Definitely. I mean, that 1983 class, when I look at that, you got Marino, Kelly, and Elway.
John Elway.
O'Brien
went right after Dan Marino, Darrell Green, who turned out to have an Iron Man career with the Redskins and went to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, one of the greatest. And the fastest man in the NFL, and his record, I think, this still holds today, Jack. Calvin Jones, an Oakland Raider running back, was born in 1970. And one of the greatest linemen in the history of football, in my opinion anyway, Jack. Cowboys, Larry Allen was born in 1972.
Okay.
So
good men you're bringing up.
Yes, sir. So, Jack, that's about it for our show. Tomorrow is going to be fun because we have our debate show. We got a lot of interesting topics. It's been posted in most of the groups that we're affiliated with in Max Sports Facebook page. Check it out. We also got the great Dr. Paul Semendinger, who's scheduled to come in tomorrow with the famous Yankees blog. Start spreading the news. He's also an award-winning author. I did do another Yankee poll about who was the greatest position player or the most influential position player on the Yankees during the 90s. I figured Derek Jeter would win, but I put Bernie Williams and Jorge Posada in the poll, Jack. And so it was an interesting result. We'll reveal the results to that tomorrow. Bernie Williams, one of the greatest clutch hitters in playoff history and a great ball player for the Yankees. And Jorge Posada, of course, the Yankees catcher back then, who had a great career with the Yankees also. So we'll have the results of those polls tomorrow. I got a Yankee trivia question for you. And then we'll get into our debate where we debate who the Yankees should sign as a free agent, their first concern. The Mets, with their first free agent signing, we're going to talk a little bit about who the best receiver in football is. We're also going to talk about the best safety in the locals' history, Eagles, Giants, Bills, and also the Jets and Patriots. So all four of those teams, am I saying it? All four of those teams are included in our debates. So we're going to have a great show for you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for coming in and watching us. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great weekend and start your weekend off with us Saturday at our debate show. Sunday, at our big football show where we have great guests coming in both days. And you have a great day today, folks. Enjoy your Friday. And for me and Jack, we thank you for tuning in. Jack, have a great Friday.
You too, Mac. Still on live.
Yes, we are.
We could talk a little sports to the people still. I mean, I don't get cut off in mid-sentence.
Yes, you will. We'll make sure of that, Jack.
Yeah.
You have a great Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow, Jack.